Hey guys, Jeremy Hood here, just trying to save you guys a little money and frustration. I went through a process trying to figure out how to cut Theraband gold very well, and it took me a while. I tried using a 4-foot level against a cutting board, and the Theraband would slip when it was under what I was cutting, and also the edge I was cutting along, it went down on the 4-foot level, had a 45-degree angle in, and then flattened on the bottom. And just that little bit of gap right there was enough for the Theraband gold to slip and slide. So what I ended up with was this carpenter's square that I bought on Amazon, and it works like a champ. It goes straight down all the way. Then I bought this fancy cutting board that is made by X-Acto, and it's self-healing. It's sort of like a really thick memory foam, I guess. It indents when you cut it, but then it poofs back. Now, that helped, but that still wasn't 100% perfect. What really helped was a tip my brother gave me, was to glue a strip of Theraband on the back of the thing you're cutting against. And this is actually a couple different pieces. I've used scraps to put that on, and I used an epoxy to hold that sucker on there so it's not going anywhere. And in case it's not obvious, I just let the edge dangle over here. When I glued it, I didn't care. There was a little bit sticking up. And then all I did was I cut it with my rolling cutter when it was dry. The rolling cutter has been working like a champ. Rotary cutter, sorry, whatever this thing's called. And I bought some extra blades for it. So what I'm noticing that I have to do, excuse me, I only have one hand, so I guess what I'll do is hold it and cut up to about here, and then stop without moving the blade and move my hand and cut some more, and then cut some more. So there's always tons of pressure right where I'm cutting. And another thing I've noticed with the blade, if I can get a good shot of this, rather than having it at a straight angle like this, I tip it like this, so it cuts right along the edge. Instead of like this, I tip it like this, and if I went straight like this, I'd have to be absolutely perfect, or it would sometimes veer off like this. So in order to cut right along the edge, I would tip it like this, and to keep it from veering off, which it could still do, I would tip it like this as well. So it's a compound angle where I tip like this, and then run that sucker. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not much. I cut it about like that, just a hair of an angle, just enough to keep the rotary cutter right against the carpenter's square, and then a little bit of an angle to keep it right against the bottom edge of that as well. So just like that. And I am so proud because this has been a huge frustration of mine. Here, I cut these last night, but I had those lined up for this video, but now I just screwed them up. I don't know if you can see if that's any good compared to how you guys cut, but for me that is like, dang, I've never been able to cut that accurately. They're not lined up very well, but they are pretty close to perfectly aligned, all four of them. And then on this end, it's the same thing, or it's pretty close. So you can see, well, I guess those bottom two are bigger than the top two, but still, that's two matched sets. And this is another cut I did with the leftover Theraband. This is 1 inch down to 3/4 inch. This is just 3/4 to 3/4. And then this I cut today. You can see all those cuts are really nice. I haven't lined those up to see yet if they work out. I think that's about it. So when I cut it, I do that. Oh, one more thing. When I lay this down, I'll exaggerate it so you can tell. You can see the Theraband doesn't necessarily always lie down evenly, and it's not always obvious. So what I do is I take this guy, line that sucker up. Oh, it's hard to do with one hand, sorry about that. Hope you get the idea. And once it's in a straight line, then I can put this sucker down. And I do little pen marks. You can see the pen marks. And I line up. I lift up on one end, see over here is way off the thing, and I line up this end on my mark. There's no mark here, pretend there's a mark right there, and then I lay it down, and then I lie this end down, and you can't move left to right or whatever while you're doing that, because then you'll screw up how straight this is. So if I do accidentally move it, which I do all the time, I'll just line it up again with the carpenter's square. I think that's all I wanted to say. I want to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Line it up to the mark, cut it at an angle. Always put lots of pressure right where you're cutting, so like that. These are 15" and these are 18". I cut them really long and then band them, so about here on the slingshot side. The pouch side I only use a little bit, and then the tapered ones always wear out at the pouch side, so then I can just use up some more here, and then instead of banding it around here on the slingshot, I'll band it a little farther, and then I get like 4 or 5 uses out of it. At least that's the theory. Now with the straight bands, that doesn't quite work out as well, because it kind of wears out wherever it's going to wear out. I guess that's all I wanted to share. You guys enjoy. Hope that saves you guys some time and frustration.